Now to Queensland, where the Brisbane Times had an exclusive poll showing the Labor government is on the nose. Voter support for the LNP has overtaken Labor as loyalty to Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk fades and people consider whether David Crisafulli should lead an alternative government. With its primary vote increasing to 38%, the LNP has moved ahead of Labor at 32% for the first time in the Resolve strategic poll. Now, the Palaszczuk government has had a tense relationship with the media in Queensland when journalists dare to ask tough questions. And it seems that Palaszczuk's brash style of politics is finally starting to tear at the seams. Michelle, it's really interesting because Labor has a complete stronghold nationally, federally, and state. Queensland appears to be a place where the cracks have appeared. I think part of it has to do with the media relationships, the fact that they have been a little bit testy. I think it starts to bleed through eventually. What do you make of the situation?
Yeah, look, I think the Palaszczuk stuff is very similar to the Andrews stuff as well. Like Dan Andrews, he is kind of losing a few supporters as well. His support is dwindling, which I think about time as well. Anastasia Palaszczuk, I mean, all through COVID, we saw her kind of obfuscate and delay and push back and not give any real answers or have any accountability for the things that went wrong. And a lot went wrong in that period. I mean, she let people not see their grieving, dying family members. Like, it was just a hideous time, and she kind of ruled with an iron fist. And now we've just constantly seeing that, you know, their health system is falling apart. Their criminal justice system is all up in the air. I mean, we've got absolute crime rampages across the state, and there's zero accountability. And I think people have had enough, and about time too, because I think we need a change up there, and we need someone who can come in and make that state a better state, because it is a good state. It just needs strong leadership, and it's just been lacking.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Caroline, what's your thought on that poll, particularly that the Brisbane Times had? Do you think that Crisafulli can win? And does The Voice play to his advantage? And does the fact that Labor has a stronghold everywhere play to his political advantage?
Well, firstly, I think my favourite part of that article is the accusation that gets put that all the other polling companies are coalition operatives. That had me in absolute fits of
Every
laughter.
pollster thinks they're the best.
And I think... Correct. And Resolve is like, no, we're not one of them. We promise that this is actually the results. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Look, of course he can win. Of course he can win. And look, we have seen other periods of time where we have been red across the state, and there is always one that ends up bucking the trend. You know, politics really is cyclical, and people in Queensland have actually had enough. I mean, Anastasia Palaszczuk together with Daniel Andrews, they're the two broke girls of Australian politics. So Queensland is broke. Queensland is broke. Queensland, like Michelle said, the health system is a disaster, crime is a disaster, and Anastasia Palaszczuk's solution for dealing with youth crime is to raise the age of criminal responsibility. So if they're under 14, you just jimmy up the numbers, and then all of a sudden it's not a crime anymore, and the problem is solved in the political sense. So I think there are very serious issues there in Queensland, and it looks as though Anastasia Palaszczuk just doesn't really have any interest in that public policy side of actually putting solutions forward. So she kind of looks like she's sitting in the chair but doesn't really want to do too much. And the thing is, in politics, there is always someone who is hungrier and wants it more. And let's hope that it is David Crisafulli, because it could very well be someone internally within the Labor Party as well.
Yeah, well, Labor up there hired a whole bunch of the state's top journalists to run their comms and sometimes interference. So it is really interesting. It makes it a lot harder to do journalism when you're up against a pro like that.